Y'all some poor black kids from Gary, Indiana. In this life, you're either a winner or you're a loser.
Colman Domingo is not the first person I would think to cast as Joe Jackson in the movie Michael, but he somehow goes beyond what I expected of him and actually nails the role. While the movie is primarily a dedication to Michael Jackson's extraordinary musical achievements, it also acknowledges the complicated and painful environment that shaped him, and Coleman's portrayal is central to that story. Rather than relying on exaggerated outbursts or making Joe into a caricature of an abusive father, Domingo creates a character whose authority is so overwhelming that nearly every member of the Jackson family changes their behavior the moment he enters a room. His performance captures not only Joe's strictness, but also the emotional terror that existed beneath the surface of the Jackson household.
In this life, you're either a winner or a loser. That's right.
I need to think.
No, sir. I told you what to think. Family that protects you. Without a family that understands you.
From the very first time he is shown in the movie, Colman establishes Joe as the unquestioned authority in the family. His posture is rigid, his voice is deliberate, and his expressions often communicate disappointment before he even speaks. There is very little warmth in his interactions with his children because Joe views them less as children and more as performers whose success reflects directly on him. Colman understands that intimidation is often communicated through restraint rather than explosive anger. Even in quiet moments, there is an unmistakable sense that everyone is walking on eggshells. This constant tension is actually one of the defining features of his performance, and is shown in the way he portrays Joe's control over Katherine Jackson. Katherine Jackson is compassionate, nurturing, and protective of her children, yet she often appears powerless when Joe is present. He speaks over her, dismisses her concerns, and expects unquestioned obedience.
They have school in the morning. What do you mean?
Ain't no time for no nighty night and sweet dreams. We need to rehearse so we can get it right. Come on, come on. Set him up.
What are you gonna do, beat him? You gonna whoop him? He's grown.
What you say to me?
These moments are uncomfortable because they reveal that Joe's intimidation extends beyond the children to their mother. Katherine's silence is not presented as weakness, but as the response of someone living under constant pressure. And how Colman physically looms over her and their children makes these interactions feel authentic. They are scared of him, and the way they obey him shows that. Joe's rehearsals are shown as relentless, leaving little room for mistakes or exhaustion. The boys are expected to perform with absolute precision while suppressing their own feelings. They rarely challenge their father because they have learned that doing so is dangerous. What makes Colman's performance particularly effective is that he rarely has to threaten the boys directly. A single look, a change in his voice, or a brief silence communicates everything they need to know. His presence alone creates fear. And if they ever go against him, they know what happens.
Boy.
This atmosphere of intimidation affects every member of the Jackson family. Whenever Joe enters a room, conversations become quieter, body language changes, and everyone becomes more cautious. Colman portrays Joe as someone who does not simply command respect but demands submission. The family rarely questions his decisions because years of control have conditioned them to remain silent. The abuse has become normalized within this household. Michael, however, experiences Joe's control more intensely than anyone else. As the youngest lead singer and the group's biggest star, he receives both the highest expectations and the harshest criticism. Joe is someone who believes perfection is the only acceptable outcome, regardless of the emotional cost. His approval is conditional, offered only when Michael succeeds and immediately withdrawn whenever he falls short. This creates an impossible standard that Michael spends much of his life trying to meet.
And my nose is too big.
Michael.
It's for my sinuses.
You gonna cry? Go on, cry. Go on, big nose.
Although this movie does not explore every aspect of the abuse that has been described by members of the Jackson family over the years, Colman suggests a reality that extends beyond what is explicitly shown on screen. His Joe is emotionally manipulative, psychologically controlling, and physically intimidating. Every interaction hints at years of trauma that cannot be fully captured within a single movie. Rather than showing the most horrific aspects of the abuse, there is enough shown to make us understand that it was far worse than what can be told. You do not need to see scene after scene of physical abuse to know that it was prevalent in this household. You only need one. Just like Colman does not need to have numerous scenes of emotional manipulation, because your imagination will fill in the blanks of what happened. Throughout the movie, Joe is someone who convinces Michael that love must be earned through achievement. Success becomes the only language Joe understands, while affection and encouragement are noticeably absent. Joe talks about the importance of family, while his actions say otherwise, because every time Michael makes mistakes, he faces humiliation or punishment, which causes him to internalize enormous pressure from an early age. Colman's portrayal helps explain why Michael becomes obsessed with perfection throughout his career. Every rehearsal, every recording session, and every performance carries the weight of trying to earn approval that never truly comes. Michael's desire to constantly improve himself is not driven solely by ambition, but also by years of criticism and impossible expectations by the man who calls himself his father when convenient.
I'm gonna need you to do this for me. For your family. Michael, you got a lot to learn about family.
I have to be perfect.
Michael's eventual separation from Joe is especially powerful because of everything that has come before. When Michael hires attorney John Branca and has Joe removed as his manager, it represents more than a business decision. It is the first significant act of independence after years of living under his father's control. Colman's reaction in these moments communicates wounded pride, disbelief, and anger, illustrating how Joe cannot imagine losing authority over the son he spent decades controlling.
Okay, Mr. Branca. Here's your first job. I need you to fire Joseph.
I was thinking about framing this. Firing your own father. What kind of son does that?
The true conflict of this movie was never just Joe. It was the control Joe had over Michael. It was the years of abuse that Michael has suffered under the hands of Joe, and to see Michael eventually win against all of that at the end of the movie and cut Joe from his life and career was beautiful to watch.
This is our last and final tour.
You say we're done? We're not done till I say we're done.
Colman Domingo delivers one of the finest performances in Michael. He embodies Joe Jackson as a deeply controlling patriarch whose influence extends far beyond physical discipline. Through every type of abuse imaginable, Colman reveals how one man's relentless pursuit of success shaped an entire family. Although the movie does not fully depict every aspect of the Jackson family's painful history, Colman's performance offers powerful glimpses into a reality that feels even darker than what is shown. His portrayal shows that trauma often exists in the spaces between words, in fearful glances, uncomfortable silences, and the constant anxiety that follows whenever an abuser enters the room. It is a performance built not only on moments of anger, but on an ever-present sense of control, making Joe Jackson one of the movie's most unforgettable and unsettling figures.